Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Thank you for joining us. Today is my one of the chats that I look forward to. All of them are special to me in some kind of way, but today I'm looking forward to this. I've been on her podcast, but I was trying to save her for when I really want to have a really great conversation. And so tonight, my guest is Jacqueline Twillie. We go all the way back to Southeastern freshman year, the Oaks and the Village. But she has been one of my biggest champions, inspirations from everything she's doing. She is the founder of Zero Gap, and that company, she works with women who are in male-dominated industries to help support their leadership growth and development. And she's also an expert in salary negotiation. And the title and focus for this podcast, of course, is following my book, Live Wiser. And in that book, I talk about a series of things that we go through in adulting that people really didn't tell us to be prepared for. And in chapter 7, Confidential Career Commandments, I list a whole lot of things that you did not learn in your career planning 101. I promise you didn't. And so I gathered all of the things that I've learned from just experience and my coaches, which Jackie was one of my coaches, career coaches. And we're going to have a poignant conversation about the racial wealth gap that we see among, especially first-gen Black college students, and how if we don't start to teach that along with students getting their degree, that there will always be what I call chasing behind the bus when it comes to salary and economic mobility. So without further ado, welcome my guest, Jacqueline Twillie, founder of Zero Gap.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Erin.
Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to talk to you tonight.
Thank you. It's been all of these have been a long time coming. I think I saved like this, especially my guests. They were so excited for when I did this book and the content, because I knew it would align perfectly. So I had a really great time on your podcast, as you'll talk about in a few. But I'm so looking forward to this.
So am I, and we need to talk about this book on my podcast. But before we get into the interview, I'm so proud of you. This is a phenomenal book. It's a game changer for so many people. So I'm so thankful that you wrote it, because a lot of people need it.
Thank you. It was a labor. Like, this book was not the same. Like, I feel like Go Wiser was something that I had been 10 years, almost 10 years removed from undergrad. And it was so easy to write. It was part of, I've been there, done that, so far away from it. But writing this book, I was going through almost everything that I talk about, and, reflections and revelations and adulting and, looking towards our 40s and kind of looking back towards our 30s. We're right in the middle. So thank you so much. I really appreciate and value your feedback.
Yes, ma'am. You did it. You wrote it. It was the magic that you did. So,
well, I probably would not have gotten the writing bug had it not been for Navigating the Career Jungle, your first book. That I think I referenced that. I don't even think I touched on it in the book. I was like, I'm not going to waste time here. You go and read that book, and also read Jackie's other book. Like, I put 2 lines in this book, because I'm like,
yes, thank you so much.
So before we get into it, I have a little fun game, this or that, to see your preferences.
Okay, let me get my wine ready.
And that's actually my first question. So red or white? Are you a red wine or white wine girl?
Rosé girl.
Middle.
Yep, right in the middle.
See, that was an easy one. Okay. So you told me don't be too hard. So Trader Joe's or Whole Foods?
Girl, Trader Joe's all day.
All day.
I'm the mayor at my local Trader Joe's.
Is it the price or the crazy things that they offer? Like,
it's the uniqueness. It's the uniqueness of the food, but it's also the staff. Like I have real life friends that I met who were crew members at Trader Joe's. But the Elo corn dip chips are like one of my favorites. But I'm not gonna give y'all my grocery list, but I'm a Trader Joe's all day.
I don't think I've had those.
You have to get them.
Okay, I'll add that to it. I try to keep it semi-healthy, but I do go there for my snack habits, just to see the random new snacks for 2021 and a half.
And the rosé selection is popping.
Yeah, their wine selection is good. That was like when I was living in Kentucky, that was my Sunday. That was my Sunday favorite thing to do, is go to Trader Joe's and just stock up everything for the week. Yeah. Harlem Nights are coming to America.
The original Coming to America.
We got to.
The first one.
Okay. Audiobook or print? You're an avid reader, so I kind of know the answer, but I don't know the preference.
Did I lose you, Aaron?
Yep. Well, just for a little bit. I didn't catch your answer.
Okay. I said definitely print, but I rock with audiobooks too.
Okay. Are you a nerd, a sci-fi nerd?
Mm-mm.
See, I didn't think so. See, I had this on the list, and I was like, Tupac or Biggie? Like, I would ask you that, you'd be like, neither. But Tupac or Biggie?
Biggie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Specifically lattes. And then last one, Nicki or Cardi? I think we lost you again. Nicki or Cardi?
Okay, all right. I can hear you now. That totally is my Teddy Riley internet that I just switched over to my hotspot. So hopefully it's better.
Not the Teddy Riley internet.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go from there. Teddy Riley or Babyface? Who did you have in their verses?
Babyface.
That was so hard, but that playlist now rocks. Like,
yeah, that is a good playlist.
That, like, looking back at all the work that both of them have done that have influenced like every genre, and like, oh, I forgot they wrote this and wrote that. Like, I still rock with that playlist from that night.
That's one of my favorite verses. And then I really like Alicia Keys and John Legend.
Yeah, that was early on. I did not catch that one.
That was a good one.
Yeah. And then I had on the list Jill Scott and Erykah Badu.
I'm gonna just go with the first that popped in my head, Erykah Badu, but that's a hard decision.
It is. That was one of the first verses that I really like. I set the timer. I remembered I wanted to be there at the beginning, and I was there for that verses. After that, it was kind of like if I popped in on one, it was good.
Okay, so I gotta ask, Brandy or Monica?
Monica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Monica. I that was a hard choice. Like that playlist rolled too, but I felt like Monica's steadily produced music, and you can look back
True.
whether it was last year or 2 years or three. She's been consistent.
Yeah.
And like when she came to Zulu, I think 2018 or something like that. Like I really enjoyed her performance, and I think that was like okay, I'm gonna pick Monica.
I'm with you for those reasons.
Well, thank you for playing this or that. So of course this will be on Woke-Wise College Kids. It is on all podcast platforms. Just having a little bit of fun while I promote Live Wiser. But on our normal recording, I would ask a couple questions about your undergrad days.
Okay, let's do it.
So we both went to school at Southeastern. That's usually one of the questions, where did you do undergrad? But the next question is always, what type of student were you? Like, if you can categorize and give yourself, like, you know, what type of a student, what would that be?
I was a social student. That's what I would categorize myself as.
Social butterfly.
Yeah.
You were a solid student. You had really great grades. You didn't like slack. You weren't like too social where academics took a backseat.
Girl, I had some classes that I had to drop.
But dropping and failing is two different things. So it's like
true. Yeah.
Nobody knew that you dropped those classes, but it's documented if you would fail.
Right.
So we're not gonna count that. We're gonna say you was.
I like that.
Yeah, no evidence. We can't verify that. We just see what's on your transcript.
Let's roll with it. I was a great student. I was very studious. I was always in the books. Social life had a backseat. That's the type of student I was.
Oh, so looking back, what is like the one memory that comes to mind when you think about our good old days at Southeastern?
I have so many good memories. Like, I would say, I mean, it was just the camaraderie that we all had. I think everybody had their specific friend groups, but at the end of the day, we were all like community. It wasn't like, oh, you know, we are never going to speak to this group of people. So I think that's what I appreciate most looking back now, because I have friends who went to other institutions, and it wasn't the case. Like what we had at Southeastern wasn't the case for people all over. And I think I took that for granted until I started talking to a lot of people. And so that would be it. Definitely a lot of sorority moments of like just cutting up and having fun. And then Cartisia, which is, I think, how you and I got really close in undergrad. You and Chris were good friends. So then
I was roommates. She was my roommate for about 2 years.
So that made me like, I love Aaron. Chris loved Aaron. I love Aaron.
Yeah, me, you, and Fayon.
Yep.
Oh, that was a good old days. Anything that you would do over, or anything that you regret?
I don't think I have any regrets. I do have one regret. I totaled my car at the end of the first semester of my freshman year.
Did you really?
Yeah, me and Fayon and somebody else decided we hadn't been to Goodwill and we wanted to see what it looked like. So I was coming off of campus and I turned and somebody wasn't paying attention and they hit my car and it totaled my car. I would go back and not be so curious and be so eager to go to that Goodwill.
Did y'all even get anything?
We couldn't go because my car
make it.
My car got totaled.
Oh my gosh. I forgot. I didn't know about that story.
Yeah, it was December of my freshman year.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that. Like it's just things happen so quick. That's why I tell students, like, we're grateful that all the stuff that could have happened to us that didn't. We're just grateful looking back that nobody everybody lived and didn't go to jail or anything like that. Like we were, and you're always living on the edge. It's like things can happen so quickly.
So quick. And Facebook was new when we were in college, so we got to live a little and not document everything.
For like 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe about 2 years. So this class of 2020, Lord, 2025, can you imagine?
Nope.
The class of 2025 are currently moving into the res halls and sign up for classes. What advice do you have for them?
If I could give them one piece of advice that I would like want them to take seriously, is to listen to their gut. Because I think when you're that young, you don't realize that your gut is a superpower, your intuition. And that's something that I'm really into now. I wish somebody would have been like, always listen to your gut. I would have made wiser decisions. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's not like high school where you're absolutely peer pressured. College, it is some respect for like individuality and you being unique and doing your own thing. But I think that first semester you think college is supposed to be this way, but it's really not.
Yep.
We have a lot of comments. Oh wait, it's all spam. Huh? I was like, wait, where are these comments come from? Okay, well, we don't need to address those. But yeah, I think that is really good. And every student has a gut, like, when something is wrong, when you should stay in your room, when you shouldn't go to that party, talk to that dude, talk to that girl.
Or that shouldn't be your major because maybe your parents want you to be XYZ and deep down you don't have a passion for that. So don't get them student loans for something that you're not gonna use. Like that's a big part that I'm glad I learned my freshman year. My first major was gonna be political science and I wanted to go to law school afterwards. And that first semester, political science, I think my first 2 tests I got Fs. And that's when I dropped the class and I was like, oh, I got to change my major. This is not, I can't do this.
Yeah, it could be hard, but if you're interested in it, you'll find a way to get through it and you'll appreciate it.
Right.
And so there's no amount of money. Like I don't think there's any major along with any amount of money that you would stay and do something for 4 years that you just don't want to do.
Right. Yep, I agree.
So thank you for that advice and giving us a little background on your college experience. So let's jump into it. I've been doing, of course, it's been a conversation between you and I. I think it's a evolution for me to talk about salary and money. And I think it's one of those things we have to unlearn and relearn with, just culture in our community about money. But I really fell into this topic doing I was a consultant for a university and they were really looking at part of their like accreditation quality enhancement plan was really looking at employability of their students. And so as I did the research, that first gen minority students have some barriers getting in, persisting in, and completing a college degree. Mm-hmm. But then when I looked at it, it was a lot of research that even first gen students, minority students with a degree, Black college graduates, we're still behind in terms of salary. We're always either underemployed, not working in our field, and we still don't have the same salary as our majority wealthier peers. And it's just like for me, it's like still a slap to the face. Like we do all of this, we say we're going to get the money. We're saying, this degree is going to get us this, and we need to get the house, the car. We're going to, you have the life that, you're going to have a life that we said that an education will afford you. But that's not true. It's not true. And I think even, just being appreciative of like jobs, like, oh, I got a job, yes, I'm starting next week. Sign and don't say anything. Like that's kind of how I don't think we knew anything better. And so once you started talking about negotiation, it opened up my eyes a lot. But even then, like even a few jobs, like it wasn't until like 3 jobs later, 2 jobs later, when I really say, Jackie, I need help. But then you were all along talking about no matter what no matter what, whether it's a job or your insurance or your phone bill, like you need to negotiate. And it still didn't register to me until I actually had to have the conversation with like, what should my salary be? What should I ask for? How do I ask for it? I'm nervous. What if I say no? Like that you had been like preaching that message for years until I had to finally come and then it clicked. And so just with all of like, I think all of these things coming together for me, writing the book, researching, still helping college grads, still having college students get through college and finish. And now it's like, we can't just say, okay, bye, go into the new world and do your thing. Now I'm like, okay, there still needs to be support. Just like we put a whole lot of resource support for first gen students in college or whatever, we still need that same support post grad if our true goal is to improve economic mobility and break generational poverty and curses, which we have a lot of in the South.
Right.
So yeah, I really wanted us to focus this discussion about how do we get here? How do we get to the point where there's such a big salary gap between us and our majority peers?
I try to pick. Well, I'm gonna just keep it real. It's America, so that's how we got here. First of all, that's the root. And when you look at when Black Americans were enslaved, they worked for free, not by choice, but because they were enslaved individuals. And then you look at all of the struggles that they had to get to, and you look at present day. When we look at the wage gap and we look at the data, part of the data says some of it is unexplained. So fill in the blank, right? You can determine from looking at the data on, and I specifically focus on the gender wage gap. And just last week, we had Black Women's Equal Pay Day. So when you look at that data and you see that Black women over the course of their careers can lose somewhere over $700,000 because of the wage gap, the contributing factors are access to family care, because as women are specifically tasked with the home duties, which are unpaid house chores, elder care, child care, and then we look at some of the systematic things that are on a larger scale put in place that benefit organizations and not individuals, such as when you apply for a job, they ask you to disclose what is your salary history or your current salary. In just a handful of states, that has become illegal to request that. So you have those factors. You have a lot of other factors. There's so many, I can't name them all, but I want to get to like where we're going to talk about a little bit. Then you have this piece where we don't ask. And we are so grateful for the opportunity. We have been socialized to just take it. And because, especially in our community where a lot of us earn more than what our parents earned, because it's more than them, even though it's less than the market rate, we're like, well, this is more than what my people ever earned, so let me go on and take this. So it's so many nuanced factors that contribute to having this gap in earnings and wages.
Where do we start to like, how early should students understand this principle? Like, where does this lesson come from? It wasn't in our career planning 101.
Right.
It definitely didn't come from, my parents, gave a lot of great advice, but negotiation and asking for more they did give me confidence to say, just apply for the job, even if you're not qualified. Like that advice came up, but it was never did have, a real conversation of saying you should ask for more. Did you ask about the salary period? So where do we start with this lesson?
So we start, like you, I didn't learn in college, but even in grad school, I learned about business negotiation, but not so much personal negotiation. And no one connected the dots like this is what you would do if you're negotiating for a business, and this is what you do when you negotiate for yourself. So where we start is like the conversations we have tonight. So you'll start by talking about it and letting people know that when you get an offer, you are supposed to negotiate. I didn't know my first couple of jobs that I was supposed to negotiate when I got an offer. I thought I was supposed to say thank you so much. So it's very rare that the first offer is the best offer, period. So given that context, you have to, one, have that understanding that you're supposed to, and then you have to seek resources and tools to help you enhance that negotiation skill set. I've been working with quite a few colleges over the years, helping them through their either career services or their alumni center to help prepare their students for negotiations in their career and their personal lives. And I'm happy to see that as an upward trend. But to be honest with you, the universities really don't give it a budget. So the groups that I work with are very limited because not every institution invests in their students that way to prepare them to be able to earn money to pay back those student loans and donate to their alumni centers.
Yes. So how has the lack of, I know you know the numbers, how has the lack of negotiation on our part, how does that impact like lifetime earnings and economic mobility and Black wealth among college grads?
So I was thinking about this. There is a specific data that's tied to the wealth gap in terms of Black educated college graduates who negotiate. That specific data doesn't exist yet, or I haven't found it. I would love to participate in that. But if we look at the Black American wealth gap, I think that's somewhere around 170,000. I think that's for college grads. I don't know what percentage of that is people negotiate or people don't negotiate. But what I can tell you from studying just women in negotiation and Black women in negotiation, that it's extremely significant, but I can't give you a percentage. What I know is that there are so many barriers for us to increase our wealth that when it comes to negotiation, we can't just think about a salary and a base salary. We have to think about a total compensation package. And that total compensation package is something that I focus on when I work with people one-on-one, is looking at the big picture and not just a single number. Because when you think about your 401k matches, for one, that money goes into an account and then you get compound interest on that. When you get a bonus or when you get a promotion, typically you're going to get a percentage of your base, right? So you do want to focus on the base and make sure that's solid, but you also want to look at, is there an opportunity to increase my 401k match? Is there an opportunity for me to take this bucket of money and do something with it over here? Student loan repayment, tuition reimbursement. So all of those things impact your wealth. How much debt you have impacts your wealth. So really coming out of just the base salary number and looking at a much larger number. And then to your point, I talk a lot about negotiate everything. So for those who are just coming out of college and getting an apartment, a lot of young adults don't realize you can negotiate your apartment rate. A lot of them think, well, I went to the apartment complex and they said, if I don't sign within 24 hours, the rate is up. That's not true. Like, you can always negotiate those things. And if you think about it from a young adult's perspective, if you're able to save $100 a month on rent, you're able to then take that and potentially invest that. And that turns into wealth over time or pay back a student loan. So there's all of these tiny elements, when we look at wealth and negotiation, that we have to like zoom out and look at the big picture and then zoom back in and get the specific skills to have those negotiations.
Yeah, a lot of the lessons that are like in your book and things you've told me during our sessions, it like you said, it transcends just salary. Like, even in my role as executive director, I use that, even the reverse side. Like, we don't have infinite dollars, but I do want quality staff, and I don't want to, just nickel and dime them, but I'm willing to say, hey, what if we do X, Y, and Z? What if I can meet you here, do this, do that? What if I can find some professional development? What if I can do, whether it's days off or just different things? So like, that's really all of the tips, even just in getting donations. I've used, like, say your number and wait. Like, that's something I'm working on. Like, don't get nervous if it's quiet, or, what's your walk away? Like, all of those things, I think the tips that you give are extremely helpful. But it's just so simple. And it's just, I'm like mystified that it's never in our career. Anytime we talk about career preparation, it's always about, the resumes and the interviews and all of this, but they never help us after we get the job.
Yeah, and that needs to change. And I hope that will become one of the trends that I want to see, is that that's be included in a lot of conversations. On the same note as that, I was just looking at some stuff online. I was featured in an article online last week, and they had some other experts in there who gave some really unwise negotiation advice, such as always ask for 10% higher. You should ask for more, but it shouldn't just be, oh, I'm always going to ask for 10% more, because 10% more could be less than what the market value is. Mm-hmm. So even as students begin to get information, it's important for them to get that information and then go out there and do their own research. Even, young adults, period. Get the information and then go and verify it to make sure that you're putting yourself in a position where you're making the best informed decisions.
Yeah. So I know, we have kind of not two different audiences. We have some students who are just graduated, but then us who've been out and we're in our careers. We may not have done this prior. What is your advice to peers that, even if they're not thinking about getting a new job, there's opportunities for you to do this at your current job to make sure that you're getting what you're worth?
Yeah, so if you're at your job now, you've been there for a while, and you don't know if you're being paid at market rate, start by doing research. So the market rate is what a person gets paid in a specific geographic area with a certain skill set. Sometimes education plays a factor in that, years of experience, definitely. And even if you're working remote, this still applies to you. So you can go to something like salary.com or Glassdoor to get some base information of what that market rate is, because that's the first step. Information is power. And then fact check that, because we don't know how old that data is, and we don't know who all contributed to it. And we know that there is racial earned wage gaps as well as gender wage gaps. So what I would advise you to do is use an app like Blind, BLIND, which is a professional networking app, or something like a Fishbowl, and you can crowdsource real-time information to verify that market rate. So if you're going, let's say you have a job and you want to ask your boss for more money, you don't have to wait till performance review time. That's a huge myth. What you really should be doing is having multiple conversations with your supervisor. And if you can find out, what you should know, when your fiscal year starts and ends, you want to have that conversation around the time the next fiscal year budget is being set, because your performance review doesn't always align to that. So if you need to have that conversation with your supervisor, you definitely want to go in and have the market rate so that you know what that number is. You want to be very clear on what you've done at work, what you performed very well on, where you've missed the mark, and wherever you've missed the mark, have a plan of action to come up to speed. And when you go in and you ask for more money, go in and say, I've been reflecting on my future. I know I've been adding value to the organization in XYZ way. Not use your own language, y'all. And then you can say to them, I know that it's time for the budget to be revisited, and I want to be considered for an increase and whatever else you're asking for. So I have some free videos where you can really learn how to finesse the words, or you can get my books. But that's overall what you would do. And then expect it to take weeks or months before you get a response, because oftentimes they have to play around with the budget to be able to give you what you want. So you're not going to get an answer that day. You might not even get an answer in the next month, and that's normal.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And even just asking, like the power of asking, to put it on the, like, I know being from on the manager side, the budget side, and then being on the other side, just, it's not that I forget. I'm always trying to be cognizant of salary equity and things like that. But sometimes you just have to put it on the radar and really voice whatever you need, to just put it out there and then see what you can do.
Yep, absolutely.
So why is money such a taboo issue in our community? Even on the job, like you might not tell people how much you make, or that might cause a big funk, or you don't want family to know how much money you make, or why is it such a taboo?
I think it comes from a scarcity mindset, that money is limited, because from my experience, people who are generous and who are abundant, they don't have a problem talking about money. They don't have a problem advising you on what to do with your money either. And it's that when you haven't had it for a period of time and you get it, you want to hold on to it tight because you don't know when you're going to get it again. So I think that's part of why in the communities money is such a taboo topic, because it hasn't always flowed as freely and abundantly through our community. So unconsciously, that gave a lot of people scarcity mindset. And so it's unpacking that. Every situation is different. I'm speaking very generally here. But when you unpack, if you have a scarcity mindset or abundant mindset, then you can kind of do some inner work and unpack that. And you can't expect your entire family, your social circle to come along with you on that journey. So, one, there's a lot of history with our community and money. And then two, once you decide you want to change your mindset around money, then it's just a journey. And it actually gets fun when you get over the fear of like, oh, what's going to happen if I say, Aaron, I just made $50,000. Aaron, you're not going to be like, oh my God, that money's just going to incinerate or something like that. But once we have more conversations about it, then you're even empowered, because you're like, oh, you made that from doing that? I can do that too. And then you have more money, and then you tell somebody, and then they feel empowered. And it's just a mindset shift, shifting from a scarcity money mindset to an abundant mindset.
Yeah, the money, like I've had to, like, again, is like my role now of fundraising, which is a challenge for me. It was a welcome challenge. And I like some of the advice, the one piece of advice I always remember is that our relationship with money plays a part in how we ask for it and what we expect. And so once I heard that, I began to think about my relationship with money in different ways, in pricing fees for services, in pricing book. Like I was like nervous to move my book price from 15 to 20, even though it's twice the size. Like I just like even little things like that. And I've been so used to doing a little with a lot, and me even naively saying, oh, they're always, people, if they don't have it, that's probably why I'm not getting it. Or if they had it, they probably would have offered me more, which is well, most times it's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so like our relationship with money plays a part in a lot of things in business and bills and investing and all of these things. How do we get more comfortable talking about money? Like, how did you get more comfortable talking about money and upon learning about negotiation and getting into this industry?
Well, I got more comfortable because I was upset that I wasn't getting paid the same as other people who had an MBA. That was my first thing. Like, well, I'm just as, if not smarter, than these individuals. I should be getting the same amount of money or more. And it was really just me getting ticked off of me and like, you know what? I'm just going to learn how to do this, and not just for myself. I'm going to teach other people how to do it because it's ridiculous that I didn't learn that. And I was in a position in the early part of my career where I wasn't reaching or even asking for the amount of money that I should have earned. So to get more comfortable with it, you just talk about money. Like, I'm very comfortable talking to you and other people that are my friends about money and what I earn. And it's not just about the flex of like, oh, I made this much money. It's also like, oh, I made this money mistake, right? So just really talking to people you trust about money and learning from them. And then I think one of the things that helped me to be able to flip the switch so quickly and learn how to negotiate and teach others how is that when I was 16, I had a job at Wendy's. And for my 16th birthday, my mom had me to call and set up meetings with financial advisors. And I ended up picking a financial advisor. He worked for one of the traditional financial advising firms. And at the age of 16, when I was just working at Wendy's, I had a small percentage of my check going into a custodial Roth IRA, which then when I became older, I was able to move. So I kind of knew a little bit about money, and that helped me. I wasn't making a ton of money. By no means was I like wealthy, but it just goes to show, even if you're working, like when I was 16 working at Wendy's, I was putting my money in an IRA. So to talk about those things helps to get more comfortable, to have conversations with people about things that make me unsure, uncomfortable. Like I had to learn about NFTs. I wanted to learn about crypto. I wanted to learn about smart contracts and all of these different types of NFTs and cryptocurrencies. Once we begin talking about those things, even if we're not comfortable with it, at least we have more knowledge. And then from there, we can make a decision. But that's going to be the game changer for a lot of people. To break the taboo is just to have the conversation. And on that point, I don't subscribe to, oh, keep it a secret and don't tell your coworkers what you earn. I don't believe in that. I was very privileged when I worked at the CDC. An older Black woman on like my first week printed off her pay stub, and she called me to her office, and I'm still meeting people, and she printed it off and slid it across the desk and was like, this is what I make. So you're new here, you're young here, you can make a plan and you can earn this. And I never seen so many zeros behind a number on a one paycheck. But that really helped me. That really helped me to tell the other women that I worked with at CDC, especially when I started learning how to negotiate. This is what I earn. What do y'all earn? What? You've been here this long and you earn less than me? You better negotiate. And I did get a fake reprimand where somebody was like, you're going to lose your job because you can't talk about this. And at that point, I was so entrenched into the research and into the laws about equal pay and negotiation. I was like, I'm a federal contractor. You can't fire me for this. And it was that boldness of somebody sharing that example that gave me the courage.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I've always worked at public institutions, so you can go and Google. Everybody would go and Google all the time or look at those lists when the state comes out with salary lists.
Erin, didn't you have your salary published one time by a publication?
Oh, yeah, often.
Just like in a newspaper.
often. And I mean, that still started, I think one time after we did all of that work, Jackie, like trying to come up with the asking piece, I still found out that it was a man with less qualifications making $20,000 more than me. But hurt. And I was like, I think I played it too safe. Like I feel like I could have asked for what I really should have asked for and backed down. And I ever since that time, I'm like, yeah, we're not gonna do that again.
Right. I oh my goodness, I see the comments. I recently worked with a lady who negotiated in her current position. It wasn't performance review time, $100,000 increase. And what I found that was so fascinating about that situation is that the same issues that women face when they are asking for $2,000, $10,000, the same mental hurdles they had to overcome and the taboo issues surrounding talking about money, it was the same for this woman who was negotiating for $100,000 increase as the women who are just going for a couple thousand more. So it's really important when we talk about getting over taboo topics and money to really evaluate your current money mindset and then find resources to help you move past that.
Yeah. So, in talking about resources, tell everyone about your services, your books, and how you help women, but you're open to all, but especially women in male-dominated industries, understand their worth and get paid for it.
Yep. So I have this book, Don't Leave Money on the Table, and the workbook, Don't Leave Money on the Table Negotiation Workbook, as resources for people who want to increase their negotiation skills. And you mentioned my first book, Navigating the Career Jungle, where I talk more about the strategy around getting yourself in a position for a job that you want. At Zero Gap, we work with women leaders in male-dominated industries, and we have a leadership intensive called the Resilient Leaders Program. And so what we do with that is we really focus on a personal leadership strategy to help people position themselves to win in their career and also to get paid what they're worth. Because one of the other things about the wage gap, the wage earnings gap, is that we look at who's in leadership positions, and people in leadership get paid more, and we still have less than 10% of the Fortune 500 CEOs are women, and I think only 2 Black women who are CEOs. So we look at the wealth gap. That's also, we're definitely qualified. We're not getting there. So that's what part of what the Resilient Leaders Program at my company Zero Gap and what we do. And then in terms of other resources, both of your books are phenomenal resources. I highly recommend, 5 stars. And you know what you're doing with the productivity work and coaching people on productivity, that plays a huge role in your earnings. Because if you are not organized and you can't be productive, or if you're not as productive as you can be, then you're not going to reach the earning potential. It doesn't mean you have to work 20 hours a day. That's not what productive means. And I think the work that you do with that will really help people to unlock some blocks mindset wise. There's some money mindset blocks that come with understanding how to be more productive. So I would say your services and your books are also super phenomenal resources for people.
Yeah, I see productivity as a way, because you want, when you go and ask for your worth, you want to be able to show I did this, this, and this, and making yourself unfireable, but not on your own back. Like being able to get the work done in the hours that you need, maybe sliding, maybe going past 45, maybe every once in a while, but you do want the ability to work in that set time, do what you need to do, but then also give that time to whatever passions and hustles you have outside of work. But you do have to be, you're in this economy, although it's not 100% like foolproof, you have to be almost unfireable. Like if we lose Aaron, we're gonna lose at least 3 people.
Yeah.
By getting rid of her.
And then along with that skill set of like, oh, we don't want to lose Aaron also having the self-worth to know, like, y'all play around me if you want. I know my worth and I know my value, and I know that somebody else would pay me the same or more for what I can do. So that is a two-way street. Like external, y'all should know, but then also my own individual self-worth. I also know what value I add to the organization.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I know we can go on. There's so much to this, and I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning a lot from you. So where can, if they want to follow you, she gives really great tips. I know her YouTube has a lot of great videos that you can get a lot of tips from. She has courses. So how can they follow and contact you?
So you can find me, Jacqueline Twillie. LinkedIn is my favorite place to hang out online, but you can also find me at jacquelinetwillie.com or zerogap.co. So I'm all over the internet, and as Aaron said, I have over 200 free videos on YouTube. I have over 200 podcast episodes on the winning season. So there's a lot of resources out there if you want to get started. And Aaron, thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun talking to you.
Same here. Need to do it again.
Yes.
Bye. Good night, everyone. Don't forget to purchase Live Wisers and Amazon everywhere. I think you can even buy on Walmart.com, anywhere online books are sold. And
leave a review.
And leave a review. Thank you. And
yes.
In a few weeks, we're going to have Paris Woods, who coincidentally is the founder of the organization I'm currently working for. So it's going to be a really great conversation. She's doing really great things in financial empowerment. And then I have Kristen Pate, the purpose pusher, a purpose coach for women. So those interviews are coming up in the next 2 weeks. And I'm really excited about that. So tune in Wednesdays at 7. And I hope you have a good night and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.